In this video, I'm going to be talking about the Final Fantasy XVI DLC content, Echoes of the Fallen, and the Rising Tide, each with my own personal experience. Welcome to the channel. This is El Charlie. Let's start the game. First up, I want to talk about the Echoes of the Fallen DLC. First off, I want to let you know from the get-go, it is not a very long DLC. You can complete it in a matter of 3 hours. And that's being generous because, well, you start off at the hideout, then you go on a quest to look for some shady characters that the game presents to you that they're dealing in these dusk crystals or dark crystals, and then you're running around the Rosaria map from Port Isolde all the way up to Martha's Rest. You remember that little path while you were headed to Phoenix Gate the second time, where the Blight had claimed most of the land? Like a little path to the left, there was like this sealed door. Well, that's where you're going on this DLC. Basically, what it is the dormant tower that has woken up, and it's up to you to see what happened, what's going on up there. So eventually, you do go up there. The tower itself is kind of challenging when it comes to the difficulty. Nothing you can't handle if you've been paying attention to the combat mechanics of the game. If you've been paying attention to enemy pattern, and if you've been getting good with your timing and the dodges, then you shouldn't have a problem. I will say there are new enemies to battle. There are new accessories that you can pick up. Very good ones at that, by the way. And like I said, the bosses that you will be facing, at least for me, I didn't really struggle that much. Yes, they're strong. They're usually, I say, about level 40 to 50. So you gotta go prepared. And in my case, I actually went there with the this sword called Goddard Damerong. Try saying that 5 times fast without messing up. Anyway, yeah, I think that's how you say it. So I didn't really struggle dealing good damage. I do remember now though that I did die twice to the Minotaur boss, like in level 3 of the tower or something like that. He hits pretty hard, so go prepare with some defense potions or tonics or whatever. The other than that, that's a steady climb all the way up to the top. Now, before I talk about the final boss, if you have been helping Mid with her side quest, if you've been gathering all the items that Clive has in his chamber, so in his wall and everything that he's got on there on display, you know, or you've been hinted at least, that's probably getting an airship. Well, unfortunately, in one of the side quests, Mid fails to achieve the flying ship. Hence, she gives you a small toy version of, I guess I want to say, of the Enterprise. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because the game got my hopes up. And the problem is my hopes of probably taking to the skies in the game. You know what I mean? Flying the Valestian skies, because up there in the tower, this DLC tower, Clive even mentions it that Mid should really see what's going on up there. And what it is that there is a lineup of functional airships that are stored up there. And again, he makes a comment on, okay, Mid should really see this because she had the intention of building an airship, making the Enterprise that sailed through the seas now soar to the skies, and that she should definitely check it out. But unfortunately, nothing happens. So I still feel a little disappointed, on that part, that I still yet have to take to the skies. I yearn to fly the skies. It's always the last reward of any Final Fantasy game, is it not? That I remember. I don't think I flew in Final Fantasy 15 though. Oh, that's right, I did fly on Final Fantasy 15. I remember the Regalia getting wings. Did you play Final Fantasy 15? You get wings on that car. So you were flying around. Awesome stuff. So let this not be the first Final Fantasy game that there isn't a flying aircraft. I don't know, that just left me thinking. But anyway, I think I ran it too long about that topic, but it's the truth. Now, what do I think about this DLC? So anyway, as you make your way to the top of the tower, you will encounter a very epic and nostalgic enemy of the Final Fantasy history / franchise. You remember that unbeatable enemy while you were making your way to the Crystal World in Final Fantasy V? Omega? That four-legged contraption that looks like a spider? Well, it's no surprise that in this Final Fantasy boss, Echoes of the Fallen, that's the last fight. That last fight was pretty tough. The thing has a plethora of attacks. I died think I died twice to it. Nothing too frustrating. I defeated it in the end, and by the way, playing it on normal difficulty. So as far as difficulty goes and enjoyment and gameplay, you will like it definitely. The exploration factor is strong, the trying out the new accessories is also interesting. It'll keep you glued to the screen for at least those couple of hours. And just leveling up, because you get a lot of points up there. It's also enjoyable. You should hit about 50 in no time if you aren't already level 50. What can I say about the plot itself? I don't mean to spoil it, but like I said before, the tower became active itself, and Clive and his brother and his girlfriend needs to investigate why the tremors have been occurring in the land. So you go up the tower, you learn that the Fallen, as they call the ancient people, ancient race of Valistia, were advanced enough to create their own mother crystal, and thus the fortress activates its self-defense mechanism, and hence throwing all these bosses at the party once you make it up there. You defeat the main guardian, which is Omega. Again, the mother crystal is broken or vanished by Clive, of course, and that's the end of the DLC for Echoes of the Fallen. Is it worth it at the end of the day, you ask? It most definitely is, because if you're a completionist like I am, one, you are at your minimum going to be using one or two of the accessories you picked up there, and two, you thought the Gutter Damarung sword was the strongest of them all? Well, guess again. I won't say anything more, but it's worth it. This DLC alone is worth it, but I'm not done yet. So let me talk about the Rising Tide coming up next. The Rising Tide DLC. Now we're really getting into the good stuff. The Rising Tide is the longest of the 2 DLCs that have been released so far. Let me break it down one thing at a time for consistency. Duration. Alright, so if you're a completionist like I am, meaning that you will want to do every side quest that this new area throws at you, and not just make a beeline to the final part of the DLC, then you're going to find yourself amused in knowing that the Rising Tide is in fact about 8 hours long, just about, to guesstimate, you know. I feel I spent more time in the Rising Tide DLC than in Echoes of the Fallen, definitely. So just right off the bat, the Rising Tide is much longer than Echoes of the Fallen. You will already be getting your money's worth, but it doesn't end there. Let me keep going. Next up, I want to talk to you about the difficulty. I always like to talk about the gameplay aspects and the difficulty because I think that's a deciding factor between either going for it or not. Here's what I mean. Listen, I consider myself a hardened veteran in video games, especially in role-playing games, RPGs, heck, even action RPGs as of late. I've been getting the hang of it. The timing with the dodging and everything, remember I've been talking about all that, you know, cool stuff. Anyway, I didn't struggle with the bosses here in this DLC, building up to the final one. However, for the first time in this game, I definitely hit a brick wall with its difficulty. Now, don't be alarmed. All it takes is for you to have a little persistency. If you're one that doesn't give up that easily, you'll pull through. But let me explain what I mean. It will come at no surprise that the final boss of this DLC is the dominant of Leviathan. And while the fight with the Time Guardian, now that I think about it, it was that was the name of the armored dude that you fought at that time frozen temple, big ass dude with a spear. I think I died 3 or 4 times to that guy. And listen, that was nothing in comparison to the fight with Leviathan. In Leviathan's fight, there's going to be a phase of this fight where you need to halt his tsunami attack. He charges up in this kind of like water bubble shield that he puts up, all while you're afraid that the time is running out. You need to break this barrier before he actually summons tsunami. I think I spent a lot of time trying to break this barrier to the point where I actually put the control down. I struggled in breaking that water barrier. The problem with this is that if you let him charge his tsunami attack, if he triggers the cutscene, you're instant dead. And it's not a 2-second death. The animation starts playing. He summons a huge ass wave. The wave drops on you. You see all these bubbles, and then your life goes wah like that, and you're dead. Game over. So, just to explain a little bit about the game makes you suffer your own death. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta wait. Now you let me trigger this cutscene. Now you gotta wait. It's like a 15-second cutscene. You know what I mean? Like, man, every time. So imagine that. Picture that. And now, check this out. I died at least 12 to 15 times. I'm not kidding you. 12 to 15 times. All because the countdown of the timer is so tight locked that you only get a moment's breath to break through. Otherwise, he'll just trigger the cutscene and tsunami, and then boom, you're dead. So, making you restart the session all over again. Luckily, you restart from that point of the battle onwards. So again, if it wasn't clear, there's little room for mistake getting his HP down to the point where you can break his bubble sphere and stopping his most powerful attack, Tsunami, because it's an instant death. One false move and you might as well just put the control down and let him kill you. I was feeling frustrated, and I admit it. That's why I said the whole thing about being a veteran gamer. I was getting upset. I was thinking this is BS. Alright, there's gotta be something I'm not doing right. There's gotta be some sort of combo that has to take away more life, more HP, because I was dying so much at the end of the day. I ran out of ideas, and because I'm not a gamer that I like to look online and see how you can actually defeat a certain level or a boss, but I really had to this time, man. Maybe you won't have to do it, but it's really up there. When I looked it up, a lot of people in Reddit complaining about this, and I quote, BS fight. So I wholeheartedly agreed. It's kind of crappy, super stupidly difficult. This section alone, not the entire fight, this section alone. Like how they upped the difficulty spike in this boss for this DLC, while all the other boss fights are pretty okay, even if you did die a couple of times. I know, not the Leviathan. So I just want you to take this perspective, this whole rant, if you may. This DLC, The Rising Tide, it's an awesome DLC. You will get to feel the nostalgia because of the name of the town you're going to be visiting. It's a new map, gorgeous visuals, by the way, love it. I totally worth it, just because of that. Oh, and by the way, new enemies appear. And when I say new enemies, returning, charismatic, and lovable, even some people consider it cute. A certain enemy makes a comeback. There's this little guy that comes back in this DLC, so keep your eyes open for that one. There's another Trial Stone also. You will get a new Dominant Leviathan, so get ready to learn new abilities, and a couple more side quests to go along with all that. So in all, even if Leviathan will make you pull your hair out, with patience and consistency and a good strategy, you'll be able to defeat him. Once you do that, that's pretty much the end of the DLC. Now, plot-wise, I think it's a phenomenal story. I'm not here to spoil any key parts of the story, but I think that Square Enix is doing an excellent job in narrating the story of The Rising Tide. Really engaging, really interesting, pretty good conclusion, and Rising Tide is most definitely a DLC that is worth picking up alone because of the extra content that you will be playing through. A couple more hours glued to your chair. It has challenging bosses, but not impossible, except for Leviathan. And a whole new series of side quests that will just get you into the game for longer. Let me give you my final thoughts on both DLCs. I believe that there is a bundle for both Echoes of the Fallen and The Rising Tide going around on the PlayStation Store or on Steam. I actually am playing the game on PlayStation 5, so that's the price I handle right now. I believe that the bundle of DLCs is around the $23 to $25 range. That includes both, like I said, Echoes of the Fallen DLC and the Rising Tide DLC. Let me tell you, it's a steal for that amount of money because the value you're going to get out of it, it's definitely worth the 25 bucks. New weapons, new armor, new accessories. There are a lot of experience points to be collected and a whole lot of side quests, and not to mention more game time playing your preferred Final Fantasy to date. So, should you get it, definitely pick it up right now. Add it to your downloads list. I actually played both DLCs before heading over to defeat the final boss over at Origin, so I feel it adds to the story, so that it makes me say that Final Fantasy XVI is the best Final Fantasy game so far by Square Enix. And that's saying a lot. I have played about every Final Fantasy out there except for 11 and 14 to the fullest, I guess. And I dare say Final Fantasy 16 is worth it. If you want to check it out, I'll put it up here on the card. I have a playlist about why I think Final Fantasy 16 is the best game to play. Why it's the best Final Fantasy to play, excuse me. I'll put it up here on the card so you can go ahead and check it out. And, well, if you made it this far to the video, congrats. I appreciate you very much. would be a good time now to hit that subscribe button, hit that like so that you can help me out with the distribution of this video, and comment. I would love to read what you think about the review, and if you end up buying it, then let me know. That would make me feel very good, and that I actually helped someone to make a decision in getting the DLC for a video game. It'll make my day. Well, that's all. This has been El Charlie signing out. Have a nice day.